Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. A very awkward stand I've got up, but I just wanted to show everybody. If you haven't seen this book, um, this is something that was done by Mr. Rolland, and this is actually the second print run of it. Um, I found out about it by that junk man, and so I was able to get in on the second pre-order, and finally came in this past week, and I just think it's fantastic. I don't know if he'll do a third print run or not, but for fans of Star Wars figures, for fans of the original Kenner toy line, it is just right for you. So this is 1978 to 1985 Kenner toy line. So I'm just going to flip through a few pages of this and just kind of show it best I can here. Love the great setups, colors he chooses, really good. Beginnings are some forwards, and then there's a history of Kenner as well, which is very interesting. There's an illustration of the Kroger building. The building was Kenner headquarters in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Kenner made all kinds of toys, not just Star Wars. $6 Million Man, Bubble-Matics. They're involved in a lot of things. And this is about Jim Swearingen, who was one of the toy makers, one of the main toy makers of the line. Now, as you know, Star Wars, the Star Wars Kenner line started with the early bird certificate that came out, where if you bought this, then you would be guaranteed to have those first few figures. So the first 4 figures were that came once you once a year passed or however long it was, and you're cashed in your early bird certificate, were R2D2 and Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca. Different variations on the figure. If you have a vinyl Jawa in box, hang on to that baby. And he goes into painstaking detail. This is heavily researched. Painstaking detail about the packaging, the different variations in the figures. I mean, if you are a fan of Star Wars, fan of the history of these figures, were someone who just was crazy about this as a kid, still crazy about it now as an adult, this is the book for you. So he shows them, he goes through each figure, he shows them in package what the back of the card looked like, the size of it, and tells you like what it came with. So for example, Princess Leia, she it shows her front card, back card, shows her front view, side view, and then it says action figure features movable arms that pivot from shoulders and legs that pivot from hips. Head moves from left to right. Includes 1 plastic cape and 1 laser gun type. So really good details on that. Here's R2, Chewbacca, 3PO, Vader. Now, if you ever seen some of these early figures, the lightsabers were kind of made into the arms. So that was an just it was an odd decision, but that way we didn't lose lightsabers then, and that became a thing later on where we were losing a lot of lightsabers. The choices for the first figures very interesting. Obviously, you're going to have the main ones: Han, Luke, Princess Leia, the droids, Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader. But the other ones, you could tell that Kenner was very much into like the aliens and the things that were different, and they thought they would catch a kid's eye on the shelf, like a Jawa, like a Tusken Raider, stuff like that. So it also, in addition to the figures, it goes into a whole section about the vehicles. Here it talks about the land speeder, and every one of them has a QR code that will lead you to a YouTube video about that vehicle, and it's just really cool. It to me, it's just amazing that there was access to um, some of the stuff in packaging with the stickers still on there for the stuff to be photographed. So I don't know, just crazy to me. X-wing, TIE fighter, and the Death Star space station. I, I never saw this as a kid. Now, so my background with Star Wars toys is my uncle. He was a few years older than me. So Star Wars, when it came out, I mean, he saw it the first one in the theater. So and he was a kid, and so he was getting all the toys. And I remember in his room he had like these metal shelves, maybe 4 or 5 tier shelves, and four of them together across a wall, and so all of his Star Wars stuff was over there. And to me, I remember it being very heavily Empire and Jedi, and I don't remember the Death Star space station being there. Now I know he had X-wings and TIE fighters and things like that, and I remember the original Star Wars figures being in there, but I have no memory of the Death Star space station. I have no memory of this Cantina adventure set either. Goes on to talk about the toys being at Toy Fair, how the business was going. In 1979, more action figures started appearing, like the Death Star droid, Snaggletooth, although they couldn't figure out his size. It took them a little bit from between fall in 78 to spring 79 to figure out Snaggletooth was a little shorter. Greedo, Hammerhead, Walrus Man, or Ponda Baba, if you will, started coming out. There's a couple of pages where they fold out. So there's the first Boba Fett. Many people probably don't know that Boba Fett was a figure released before he was in the movie. Imperial Troop Transporter, really cool. I never saw an Imperial Troop Transporter in person, but I thought it was cool in The Mandalorian how they decided to take this toy and bring it into the mythos of Star Wars. Really cool. Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, the Millennium Falcon. Epic, epic toy. Creature Cantina. Now this time they went for plastic with that. Land of the Jawas. I mean, they were all in on what kind of great ideas can we have. There's such creative talents there at Kenner, and I mean, I love this. Like, I don't know if you can see this page or not, but right here there is an action feature on this sand crawler where you can put R5D4 in here, which is the droid that kind of blew up in front of Luke and Uncle Owen. So you put this droid in here, and he'll slide up the elevator, kind of like how the Jawas would get the droids onto the sandcrawler. So just really fun ideas. I mean, the creatives at Kenner had just as much of an imagination as the creatives of the movies, I think. Droid Factory here. Now, this mold right here would be reused several times, which you'll see. Do back, get into 1980, and as we know, Empire Strikes Back will be coming out. So this is probably one of the most epic times and profitable times for Kenner Star Wars. Um, so some of these figures are Leia on Bespin, FX7, a droid. I've been looking for an FX7. I need him in my collection. Haven't found him yet for a good price. Snow Trooper, but they didn't call them Snow Troopers, it seemed then. They called them Imperial Stormtroopers Hoth Battle Gear. Rebel Soldiers, Bosk, a favorite. Love the Bounty Hunters. IG-88. Luke with a in Bespin gear, but with a yellow lightsaber as he carried, you know. But that yellow lightsaber, you know, you see kind of like a send up to that in The Rise of Skywalker when Rey ignites her lightsaber at the end and it's yellow. Han, Hoth outfit. Lando. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, but it'll show the blaster right here, tell you how many inches it is and what type. So a lot of the figures had a similar type of blaster. Like, for example, with these figures that were on Bespin, like Lando, the Bespin guard, it would say Bespin laser gun type. Now we know that those weapons have been given proper names in the mythos, but that kind of gave you, oh, that one's carrying that one. I know that goes with him. And over here, Bosk had a laser rifle that was pretty much all his own. So some figures had something that was just for them, while others shared very similar. There's Yoda with his orange snake. Just, that's, I don't know who came up with that, but they still do it. That was in a Black Series Yoda. I never saw Yoda with an orange snake, but I like it. There's a couple more cardboard scenes. Snow Speeder, Tauntaun, and this is before the open belly action. And I don't know it's that they didn't know or they thought it was a plot point and couldn't do it yet, but they eventually do it. Darth Vader's Star Destroyer, very controversial play set because, well, I gotta tell you, it just looks stupid, right? It didn't look like a Star Destroyer. You couldn't really use it as a base. It's just very silly looking, and I've never wanted to own this. The only really cool thing I think this has is the meditation chamber for Darth Vader. But that's it. Other than that, it's, I don't know, pretty silly. Imperial Attack Base. Cloud Car. Love the Cloud Cars. It's just out of the blue. Just, why do two people need to fly this thing? I don't know. Empire Grows. Here's, now they've called this the Imperial Cruiser now. Now we're getting into 1981, so the Empire figures are going to start branching out a little bit. They're changing them up, like right here. She has a different type of cape. They're improving their quality, their likeness, sculpting. That's one thing with Star Wars. Kenner, Hasbro, most of the time, you're always getting better. Like if you look at like the vintage collection right now, the sculpting, the likeness, the attention to detail, right at this point, it's better than say it was 3 years ago even. So even back then, they were always improving. Ugnaught, Dengar, Han Solo, of course, in his Bespin jacket, brown pants, Lobot. I need to get this AT-AT driver. He's missing in my collection. I do have a 2-1B. coming up on that 81 vehicles and playsets. So the turret and the probot. Uh, I don't know if any of you remember the uh, micro, I guess, pewter maybe playsets that Kenner made for Empire Strikes Back. But I loved the Probot set. It was a lot of fun, and of course the huge snow base, and the best one of all, the carbon freezing chamber. Now this one right here is one I definitely remember being in my uncle's room. Is Dagobah action playset. So Yoda's hut here. I remember I would try to go over there and put um, like a figure in that spongy part, which I've heard does not hold up over time. But I just, this was one of the things, like, he didn't really like me touching his figures. I was younger. He was like 8 years older than me. But, like, I always wanted to, I was like, man, I just need to play with that Dagobah set. I just had to. I remember him having that AT-AT, and I mean, everybody loves that vehicle. Such a fun idea. It's not practical, but if you watch it on screen, it's awesome. Slave One, which they've really never gotten better with this ship. They've made it bigger, they've painted it, but a lot of the same ideas are there, I think. You move into 1982. More Empire action figures. There were so many new characters, new species, bounty hunters, troopers in that movie that, I mean, they could have just kept making. Uh, I mean, here's one of the great things when C-3PO got blown apart and Chewbacca had to carry him on his back. Of course, they made a figure for that. That's always one that you want, is that 3PO. That the limbs tear away, the head comes off. It's just a fun play feature. Cloud car pilot. I do not have a cloud car pilot. I don't have a cloud car, but I at least need the pilot. I've got this security guard. Now this says this is a mistake. This might be I might get roasted for what I'm about to say here, but this is a mistake Kenner made. They released Forlom and Zuckuss together. However, they mixed up the names. This is Zuckuss, and the droid is Forlom. Now, and that's caused some debate over the years, especially by toy collectors who first knew this as this was their names, as they weren't set on screen. However, the quickest way to know that that is wrong and I am correct is droids are usually use numbers. If you can think of a droid that doesn't have a number in its name, this is a droid bounty hunter. He's not going to be called Zuckuss. He's going to be called Forlom or 4LOM, right? So that's definitely Zuckuss. That's definitely Forlom. And I believe lots of other media and later action figures have corrected that. Rebel Transport, which kind of was used like a Masters of the Universe Battle Bones, where it was just kind of like a carrying case in a way. The Wampa, one of the great kid commercials. Hey kids, it's a Wampa. Now this is where they fixed the tauntaun up where the belly opened, so that plot point was out, so they could re-release it. Or maybe they just had the technology. I don't know. X-Wing, this time battle damaged. So I really don't believe if I'd had this X-Wing, I would have put these damage stickers on there. I think I would have refrained. But those that did wound up putting these stickers over these stickers and basically ruining an X-Wing. Scout Walker, ATST. These are some odd things. Vehicle maintenance energizers, radar laser cannons, just some little odds and ends, probably on the cheaper end as far as extras you could add in to kind of build your world out. Tripod laser cannon. There's been a new stormtrooper here recently in the vintage collection who's came with this cannon. I think they used it in, I feel like the Mandalorian season 1 possibly. So like the people that were a lot of, I won't say everybody because I feel like there are some mistakes that are being made in some of the media, but a lot of the people that are making the shows now are the same people that played with the figures then. So that's why you see a lot of that. I feel like you see a lot of those Easter eggs. Admiral Akbar, hugely popular. Now we have a Luke that with a green lightsaber took to Return of the Jedi to get the correct color lightsaber. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of a figure that the helmet can come on and off of, removable helmets. So Princess Leia there in her bounty hunter outfit is a favorite of mine. Gamorrean Guard. Always love this simple design for the Royal Guard. One thing about the 1983 to 1985 figures is there's just so many Ewoks. I feel like you just need like 3 Ewoks, but they did make an Ewok village, so I guess you got to fill it out. I need this Klaatu, Rebel Commando, Weequay, Squidhead. I've got him. Got that actual figure. Like him. I need a General Nadine, Bib Fortuna, Reuse. He came with the Jabba's Palace diorama from a few years ago, a new figure of him. So I love this Lando with the removable helmet. Scout Walker, you always got to have one of those because you're going to have you're probably going to have a bike, a speeder bike. Nine he's out now on the shelves. New version of him. And this talks about that design evolution I was talking about. Jabba the Hutt. Such a great figure. Such a great design. Trying to get a lot of the elements so you could build out your Jabba world. And I think they were really trying to make sure that, you know, you could get the cantina set up. You could get Jabba's palace set up. Y-Wing. One thing that's also sorely missing in the past 10 years of Star Wars, however long it's been now, 8 years, is just a variety of ships. I mean, at this point, we had Y-Wings, B-Wings, A-Wings, and there's just too many X-Wings and TIE Fighters. Branch out. Here's the Ewok Village. Later remade into a Robin Hood forest. But some really cool features on that. A good playset. There's a TIE Fighter. I have this up on my shelf. Here's where they used the Droid Factory one more time, called it Jabba the Hutt's Dungeon. Getting into 1984. So they started re-releasing some of the classic figures. So, you know, I mean, at this point, it had been 7 years since the original movie came out. So if you were a young kid and you were getting Return of the Jedi figures, but you couldn't get any of the older ones or you couldn't find them, this was a good way to start getting your collection together. You could get this Luke and this outfit, or this Chewbacca, this Ben Kenobi, a Tusken Raider, Yoda, Boba Fett. That was a good way to do it. And they were just releasing those on the Return of the Jedi cards. Come over to Nikto, 88, which is in Book of Boba Fett now. Wicket, Leia, the Emperor, classic figure. Rise, my friend. B-Wing pilot. Tebow. That is a, I'm not crazy. Like I said, I like Ewoks. I'm just not crazy about so many Ewok figures. But he's pretty good. Prune Face. Classic. ATST driver. I need one of those. I need another one of those, really. Rancor Keeper. More Ewoks. Sauce Noodles. I always call this the Max Rebo band, but I am wrong. This is Size Snoodles in the Rebo band. Apparently Max Rebo still lives. Or he lived up until... What? How did that go? Was he in the bar in the Book of Boba Fett? The one where they would clean the helmets and throw coins in the helmets? Was he in the bar that blew up? If so, Max Rebo was dead now. But at least he had made it. Him and one of the Cantina musicians, they were playing in there. Rancor. It's so hard to find a Rancor. Nobody wants to part with one. And if they do, everybody's trying to get it. A B-Wing, which a fun playable ship. However, to set it on the shelf, it just doesn't look cool. TIE Interceptor. Ewok Glider. Another use of this as the Jabba the Hutt dungeon, just painted differently. Comes with different figures. A man. Imperial Shuttle. Fun ship. You can get your figures all laid out there. It's like the Emperor's arriving at the Death Star. And we're coming into the last year of the Kenner line. The story ends here, it says. So they started doing, they knew kind of Return of the Jedi the toy line had went 2 years. And so they had a few extra figures that they wanted to put out in a couple of playsets. And that became the first Power of the Force line. So you got Luke on Endor, the R2-D2. I think one thing that made this line not do as well, possibly, maybe it did fine, I'm not sure, but I really don't think this packaging is good. This black doesn't pop like it should. I think they just changed the packaging so much to, I don't know if it looks cheap or if no one could correlate it to a movie, where no one was like, "Ooh, is that a Star Wars figure or is that something else?" I don't think it was immediate because the logo was different and it didn't have the racetrack around it, and the pictures were smaller. It was too much of a difference. So that's just my take. Barada, Imperial Gunner, Han Solo and Carbonite, which that's the second time they did this. I guess the first time was with the Slave One. Luke in the Stormtrooper outfit. Anakin Skywalker, the original. EV-99, Warrock, Lando pilot outfit. I need that figure. A-Wing pilot. Imperial Dignitary. Yak Face, love him. And then the story goes that Kenner presented Lucasfilm with some options to carry the story on, that they were going to have Grand Moff Tarkin survive the Death Star, and they made some vehicles and had some different things. Han and Luke would be battling, remnants of the Empire or whatever, but they didn't want to keep it going, which I don't understand, but I don't know. Maybe they were tired of making money. I don't know. It's very weird. There's a skiff. They've used that same mold over and over through the years. A wing fighter. Those are the only two vehicles that year. And that, my friends, is the end of the book. Now you can, if you're interested in this book, you could check out his Facebook at Chronique Vintage, Twitter, JF_Rolland, Instagram, Chronique_Vintage. Just fantastic work and a real love for this property and these figures has went into this. So I could not stop looking at this book. I love it so much. This and Pixel Dan's Masters of the Universe figure book are like two of my favorite collecting books. So great. So today, to complete the Star Wars show today, I was out Christmas shopping. We went into an Ollie's, we went into a Ross, and there were some great deals that I could not pass up. And so I'm going to show you 3 of them. And we're going to pop them open to finish out today. So, first and foremost, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Wandering Jedi figure. This one right here was at Ross for $3.99. Now, if you know how much TVC figures usually run for, you know that's a deal. I also saw Mace Windu and Anakin there from Attack of the Clones, but I'm really trying to stay in kind of like A New Hope through, I guess, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian 3, that era, just so my 3 3/4 collection doesn't get out of hand. So here's what the back of it looks like. Now, none of these things I'm going to pull out here are new. Obviously, they're at discount stores, so they've been out a while. But however, they are new to me, and they might be new to some of you. So we're going to pop them open and have a look. What I like about this Obi-Wan is it comes with so many accessories. Now I feel bad because I cannot remember what this little droid of Princess Leia's is called. I don't know about you guys. That show was not my favorite. I really like Ewan McGregor. But I could have done without... I really think they could have came up with a better story. I don't like... I mean, obviously you want to see more Darth Vader fighting people. However, you want it to make sense in the canon. And you're not retconning things. And there's a lot of stuff that's said in A New Hope or said in Return of the Jedi that's other media is made later, other movies, other TV shows are made later that contradicts. And it's so easy to just watch these things and not contradict. I mean, take 2.5 hours, watch Return of the Jedi again, and not contradict, what Princess Leia is saying about her mother, or let's not contradict the fact that Obi-Wan, we all took it as what he's actually saying, that Obi-Wan has not seen Darth Vader since Mustafar. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. So, was he the master in this show? Looked like he was, looked like Obi-Wan wasn't much of a match for him most of it. And he even used the Force to bring down a ship. So, was Darth Vader still the learner in Obi-Wan Kenobi? No. I mean, it's so easy not to contradict things. just because you want to make a show where Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber battle again, where there's absolutely no stakes, there's no reason to retcon classic movies or make the whole story not make any sense. But anyway, here are some accessories. I don't know how they're going to show up in here, but this is that little droid that Princess Leia has. He's on this stand here, and right here he's like open. He's with a little blaster, and he has a pocket here I can put it in. I'm going to attempt that. Can I put it in your blaster? Can I put it in your pocket? I think I can. I think I can. Ooh, is there a... Oh, that even... There's even like a little button that comes up so that you can... I'm sorry, I'm not doing this on screen, but I've got to have it close to me. My eyes are not what they used to be, folks. So yeah, it can go in the holster on him there. I like that he has a soft goods cloak. So the one thing about Star Wars, though, I will say that I felt like I was being negative earlier. Obviously, I've done a whole live show about how much I love that book. The one thing about Star Wars is that's always great and never lets you down is the world building, the figures, just all the imagination of it. Just be consistent in the storytelling. It also comes with a lightsaber that is not ignited, and his ignited blue lightsaber. There we go. So that's Obi-Wan, Wandering Jedi. I think he looks pretty great. The face is outstanding. Like I was saying earlier, the vintage collection figures just keep getting better and better. So the next find was also at Ross. And like I said, old news to a lot of you, but brand new for me. I passed on this Princess Leia at Ollie's because it was $9.99 and I already had something else in my hand. Went to Ross, $5.99. So it pays to wait sometimes. It's a $20 figure. $5.99. This is a deal. So there's a little story about when she first came out in the old black boxes, black window boxes, 2014. The Black Series has been going for such a long time now. It's crazy. I remember I started getting them, and then it occurred to me that there was no way I could afford to buy all the Star Wars Black Series figures I would want to own, nor did I have the space for it with all of my other collections I was doing. So I was like, I'm just going to get like a few of these. And so mostly I'm original trilogy centric with those. So she's got her backpack here. Excuse me. Staff. Here's the thing I'm hoping not to lose. Thermal detonator. helmet. Big reason for the purchase. And there's the figure. I think the likeness is really, really good on her. I'm going to put her together here. It's just supposed to fold over. Perfect. And now, see if I can put this. I wonder, I bet that's a better hand for the detonator. So I'll put the staff right here. See, that's the thing, is she's just going to be, it's already gone. She's just going to be able to have that in her hand, like she can't grip it. It doesn't seem like, so that'll be difficult. Let's see. So, yeah, let me see. Yeah, I'll have to have it like that, kind of on the shelf. But this is great. I really like her. And a steal for $5.99. Total steal. And finally, the other find today was another Black Series figure I do not have in my collection, which I was very excited about. Ollie's. I got this Emperor Palpatine for $9.99. He's another archive collection. He's from 2019 when they originally released him on Amazon, where he came with the throne and the lightning and the cane. In this instance, just the cane, but that's okay. That's okay. I have my vintage collection Emperor on a 3D printed throne, and he looks pretty great. So this one can stand. That's fine with me. So if you're watching in your Black Series or vintage collection collector, let me know what your favorite figure is. Like, it doesn't have to be your favorite character, just what your favorite figure is of vintage collection or Black Series, because it's just, I mean, Star Wars is just always so much fun. Even when they get the, even if you feel like, oh, that show wasn't just like what I wanted, they still get the figures and the playsets right. There's him. Look at that face. Looks great. Rise, my friend. Wonder if I could get him to lean on that cane. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty cool. Two people who, I'm sure that they never meet on screen, but it only makes sense that she would have interacted with him if she's had any dealings with the Imperial Senate. It only makes sense that Leia Organa would have met the Emperor or had some sort of dealing with him. So not exactly two figures that, just two figures that didn't meet on screen. However, I think they have met. She is. I've seen like some people when they get a figure, they're like they got it standing up in like no time. I am not so skilled. Just give me an action figure stand already. One good thing about McFarlane, I just give you an action figure stand. Excuse me. So there she is, there he is, and that's our Obi-Wan. I hope you liked the opening of the figures. Hope you liked the look at the book. Um, it was fun looking at it again. Fun remembering those figures and my uncle who since passed on. We did both share a huge love for Star Wars. I always remember the first time I saw Temple of Doom, he had it playing in his room. He was in the basement, my mom and papa's. That was his room down there, his domain. And I went down there and it was on already. He had just gotten the laser disc, and these are the laser discs that were in the squares, and they're called some. I've got something in my throat. They're called something else, but it was the ones where you put them in, and halfway through the movie you had to flip the disc over and put it in again. But it's the first time I saw Temple of Doom. I remember walking down there, and they were just getting out of the plane on the life raft, and I was just blown away by that movie. I could not take my eyes off of it, and it still bothers me to this day if I read comments of people saying that's their least favorite Indiana Jones movie, because I think that it has the the most adventure in it. Like it's constantly going, and then I don't know. But it also could be that I have that nostalgia attached to it of going down there, seeing that one. That was the first one that I saw, first Indiana Jones that I saw, and I shared that experience with him. So something like that. But anyway, we like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all things Spielberg and Lucas. And I remember he really wanted to be a filmmaker, and he never did. But that happens sometimes. So anyway, I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday night, and uh, if I hope the weekend treats you well. Thanks so much.